You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. And I am here with Megan, Whitney, and of course, Calvin. And the topic for today that we wanted to talk about, because this is something that's coming up a lot with parents, is I'm on a health journey. I'm trying to improve my health. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to do something in this arena. And it's really hard with kids. It could be, I don't know how to plan, I have too much going on, or I don't want to cook separate dinners. So I figured we can all kind of give our input and ideas with different topics. And we do have parents of all age ranges, so we can all kind of share how we do things at certain levels. Because of course now, like my kids should be out of the house. They're older, right? And 19 and older. So at this point, they're on autopilot. I have more time for myself and I can do it the way I want. But the way Whitney has to do it with little ones and toddlers is going to be very different than how Megan could do it with kids that are a little bit older. So I figured this would be helpful for everybody. And I'm going to go ahead and kick off with, I would say, the most popular question that I hear is, I really want to cook healthy, but my kids won't eat that. So if anybody wants to kind of start off and kick off that question, I'll have Whitney or Megan.
I'll go ahead and start that off there. And I think that, starting them off young it's really important, but obviously you can't help that if they're a little bit older and they're a little bit more picky. One of the things that I like to do is involve them in helping, at least like my older one, he's 4, but my 2-year-old, or almost 2-year-old, she can kind of help sort of chop things with like the kids' knives and that sort of thing too. And just like kind of talk to them a little bit about it, and make it fun, and kind of also with the concept of like fuel foods versus fun foods. Like I've always talked to them about how certain foods fuel your body. And, I think especially younger kids are very excited about the fact that like they want to be older and bigger and they're growing. And so, if you kind of explain like, these foods help you grow, these foods give you energy so that you can play. And, we've even made it like kind of goofy. And I told Ezekiel one time that like vegetables will make him fart, and he ate his entire dinner.
That's all the boys need.
Boys,
Yep.
yes.
Yep. Just kind of like incorporating it into the things that you're teaching them, and even if you're dealing with like older kids, kind of retraining, and you can take healthy foods and kind of add certain things to them, that maybe you put cheese on their vegetables or give them a little bit of ranch dipping sauce and try to kind of like shift their tastes over to those healthier foods. There's lots of ways to dress up like healthy foods for kids to kind of make them enjoy it. And I think a lot of it's just getting them familiar with it, at least that I've seen so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And I love that with the, again, the dipping sauces and the things, and absolutely the farting thing. Girl, if I had had that back in the day, that's
Yeah.
pretty useful. I actually might try that one with Dawson. I mean, he's 19, but I'm sure he'll still,
I think they always love that.
Well, Calvin,
I'm not unhappy that you didn't bring that up. I don't know, 3 boys in his house, all with that power force.
Mine would
Yeah, and
probably love
Megan,
it.
your kids are a
So,
little bit older, so yours are more in that transition age that they won't just kind
oh,
of do
they'll
that.
eat that up. Yes,
Yeah.
totally. But I love the idea of like adding a little bit of flair and a little bit of fun into the more healthier options. One that I think my boys love is like, taking some Greek yogurt and then they can add some maybe flavored granola on it, maybe even a sprinkle of little chocolate chips or something, just to like make it a little sweeter. But I think, yeah, involving them, letting them be in that some of the decision making, especially as they're getting older, and realizing too. So in my age frame, I'm going from 6 to 11, 3 boys. So my health journey really didn't get all in until probably about like 3 years ago. I mean, I never ate terrible, but just being much more conscious of what I'm eating. So prior to that, especially like my oldest, he may have ate more things that maybe wasn't more of that healthy choice, right? So, and this goes for adults too, but your taste buds, they become accustomed to those things, right? So it does take a little while if you are making a transition, changing some foods, starting to introduce those healthier foods. It may not be the best tasting thing at first, but I think that goes back to just being consistent. That's what we always preach. And you just reintroducing it, and you can try different ways of reintroducing it and kind of just find what sticks. But it will take time for those taste buds to change. Because I can speak for
Mhm.
me. My biggest one was coffee creamer.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest one for me. Because like I was a Dunkin' extra girl. And it took a while to make that change to like an almond milk and just like some stevia. But now I have something that's like super sweet, and I'm like, oh my God, I
So
can't
much.
drink this. So it's
Yep.
the same thing with kids. Same thing. It's gonna take them some time to adjust and to get used to it. And then it's just gonna come part of their everyday habits, just like us.
Yeah, it's funny about the coffee creamer thing. I see that there's actually a Dunkin' Donuts and a Starbucks right next to our gym, and I'll go in there, at like 9 o'clock in the morning to go get a workout in, and I'll see a line going into Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm thinking, so they don't have time to work out, but they do have time to sit in a line for 30
Wait in
minutes to
line.
get. I'm like, all right. But I really like what you noted about with the yogurt, and kind of and sprucing that up a little bit to make it like a snack, like a healthy snack. Because I think the big thing with kids is, and the big challenge with parents is having them sit down to have an actual meal. Like, and then it comes down to how many meals are they having a day. So you kind of think about, okay, well, they're snacking. So if you can make the snacks healthy, and higher in protein, I think that's one of probably the biggest issues with kids is lack of protein. So
Yeah.
they're having just carbs, just straight up carbs. And I see this a lot with parents, soccer moms and stuff, they'll just load up the cooler with carbs, all this stuff because carbs give them energy. Their kids are playing sports. There's no protein, there's no healthy fats or anything. But what's happening is they're spiking their insulin and they're just going up and then they're crashing. So it's not actually helping their game. It's actually making it worse because they're up and running for, 15 minutes and then the crash comes and they just want to get off the field and sleep. So finding ways to kind of sneak protein in and still make it tasty for them, that's just a huge win, all the way around the board.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And that's a good point too, is like, especially with like little ones, is like sneaking healthier things in there. Cause like for pancakes, I'll always sneak in like some yogurt instead of milk, to kind of
Mhm.
up the protein and
Or egg
sneak in.
whites.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Or egg whites.
Pancakes,
Yep.
great one. Yeah. That's
Yep.
protein pancakes.
Yep.
Perfect.
And pancakes are great too to like sneak vegetables in, if you want like green pancakes, spinach. And you can put like pumpkin puree, all sorts of things. So, just kind of like maybe even like taking things that they already love and like sneaking some
Find an
healthier foods in
alternative.
there. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I always tell people I actually have clients, adults, that don't eat any type of vegetable. So I tell them, take a tomato sauce, like a jar of tomato sauce that you would have had for your spaghetti. Like, go throw like some cooked zucchini or cooked squash or cooked, spinach. Throw it in there, blend it up. They will never see it or know the difference. Like, just you won't taste it. It'll just be in there. So it's absolutely. And we used to go through some cookbooks. And now you could do like on TikTok and Instagram. And I would tell them, like, find a recipe that you like, and then we'll make it together. right? And we'll go get the things at the supermarket, we'll buy the things, and then we make it together and you create that recipe. And, we can tweak it a little bit. If you don't like it or you do like it, we can always add things or change it or get ones that are similar. So also finding some resources of things and letting them find those things. There's a lot of like healthy recipes. You put in macro friendly recipes in any of those platforms, and you get a lot of people that you can follow and get like Lily Eats and Tells. I got that cookbook because I made like 3 of her recipes. All the boys loved them and they were clean and macro friendly. So I got her cookbook and then we just go through it and say, okay, which ones do you guys want to try? And that's it.
Is that you can go like on TikTok and just put in like healthy, high protein cottage cheese snacks, and you will just get a plethora of different things that taste really good. And yeah, to get them involved and like show them, because it's usually like 3 different method or 3 different ingredients. And it's so simple. So at the same time, they get to make it. It's rewarding to do it. They enjoy it more. So the sensation comes with actually making the food and good memories from it. So they enjoy it and then they want to eat it. So that's a great idea.
That totally works for my boys because, they have their own YouTube channel, so they will straight up set up the camera, they will video themselves making
That's
it,
awesome.
and then they edit it and they post it. It's cute,
Right.
but that's, they're at the ages where they want to do that. And that's like a revenue or not revenue channel for them, you
Yep.
know, to
An
get their
outlet.
Shoot,
get
Yeah.
out there.
bring them
Yep.
on the podcast.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome.
be
And I think
great
it's
to watch.
also remembering the what you're modeling for them, right? And you and what you do with your kids. I mean, it is obviously for them and with the recipes, but they're going to remember those things that they did with you. And then when they grow up, they're going to say, that was really cool. And for my own kids, that's what I want to do. Like, because that was something that was memorable for them. And the same with everything else. I always tell people when you have kids, and I hear from mommies like, I don't have the time to, do that. I don't have the bandwidth. I get it. Like when I was in Whitney's stage, like I had 0 bandwidth. Like Whitney's doing a whole lot more than I was doing when my kids were that age. So I understand it from that perspective. But now what I see is that when you do take that time and you don't have like the bandwidth during the week because you got so much going on, maybe work and everything else, almost like finding those times that you can and just saying, this is my non-negotiable because I have to do this. I tell people you'd find the bandwidth if your kid needed to go somewhere or he needed a special diet or he needed special food because something was going on. But it's always better to say, okay, this is a priority because this is not just my health. This is my kids' health. This is setting the example for their kids someday and what their future will look like. And also just your health being around for your kids and being able to see their futures. So if you guys have any suggestions for that as well, just about like the thought process and like either one of you guys can kind of go with it of, when you have so much going on.
I chime in on this because, a lot of the disorders that we see with adults, it comes from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from childhood, whether it's sugar addicts, whatever, and a lot of that big part of that is that they connect their emotion with the food. So the emotional eating is they go to the sweet things, the cake and this and that, because it's comfort foods, right? So, if you know that as a parent, you have young kids, how you present these things to them, you can create those things and put those feelings into them, but do it in a healthy way. Like if you have a Sunday night family time, something simple and easy to do that would be fun is just everybody picks out their own TikTok thing and everybody just makes their own. And then you have a big food tasting thing, and it's like, you taste it and then you have theirs and like, oh my God, they're so good. John's is just great. And everybody eats it up and everything. And so he has that feeling of accomplishment. He feels good and it attracts him to that, so there's ways to create those emotions and have them, go in the right path with it and understand, and they can bring it onto their friends, hopefully, because we've all been to our friends' houses and know what they have in their cupboard. So maybe they could show them a little bit. But things like that, getting them involved, it's family time, it's quality time and it's helping them. It's creating good memories with them and creating a good relationship with food that it's not about pulling the food back. It's just about making good, healthy choices. So there's not a food disorder created in that time. It's understand the value of food and
Yeah.
knowing how to manage it.
And I think that's such an important thing on like both ends of the spectrum, right? Because we have the rates of obesity and childhood obesity, especially, that have been rising over the past couple of decades. But then, on the flip side, the eating disorders that come with like diet
Social media.
culture and restricting and social media and all of that. So, if it's so important that you model those healthy behaviors in a good light so that they know that they're making choices that are healthy for their bodies, and surrounding, like, making the healthy food and eating the healthier food with the right kind of emotions, and trying to sort of stay away from the ideas of like too much like food for comfort, or you know things like that, that can really, it seems innocent as a parent, and it's almost not intuitive per se, but like it's easy to go to that. And I think it's easy because a lot of us were brought up in that way. Um, like, you did good. Do you want a piece of cake or a candy
Mm.
bar?
A
Hey,
reward.
And
you won the game. Let's go get pizza and ice cream.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard because it's hard to not fall into that. It really is still
It's very
even
hard. It
and
is.
knowing
It's our
even,
culture.
yeah, knowing what I know, it's still hard to be like, "Hey, you did a good job. Let's go get
Sure.
a reward." It is hard. And occasionally, I think that's fine.
Yeah,
You just don't want it
absolutely.
to be, you
every
know,
time.
an every time occurrence. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think important too when we talk about food and how we're looking at it as a child and whatnot, I think is removing the word diet
yeah,
because,
Mm.
you know, we're not dieting to say lose weight necessarily, but sometimes we are, but we're just fueling our body, and whether that might be a little bit more food sometimes and it might be a little bit less food sometimes, but we're still fueling our body and removing that word diet. Cause I can remember, back when I was little, my mom was always on a diet. So it always looked very restrictive and, counting every calorie or doing Weight Watchers. So we're counting points and, things like that. But it wasn't necessarily healthy to see the way that was occurring, right? I mean, I know even now, the kids, especially if I'm in like prep, they'll be like, "Mommy, you can't have that," or "Your prep or your coach won't let you eat that." Like, but it's like, well, I could
Good
have
for them.
things, because we do things on a macro based type of system. As where it's looking at the types of foods, and what they are, the protein, the carbs, the fats. I could have something. I just got to work it in there, you know? But removing that word diet, I think, is important, especially, I guess, Whitney, you can speak to having females and how, you're just kind of starting because she's, not even two, but how that really applies even more so, I think, to a
yeah.
female growing up around food and what that looks like and body image and things like that.
Yeah. Well, because especially, like, everything you just said about what you saw your mom doing, like, I saw all of that growing up, and so I started early adulthood in, like, an arrayment of eating disorders, and it took, like, retraining myself to see food in a different way and build these habits and lifestyle changes that don't demonize foods or food groups, or like, don't cause anxiety and fear when I do eat, or see the scale go up a little bit. And I really, really want to make sure that I don't instill that on my daughter, and there's enough, like you said, with it, the social media that's out there that she'll be exposed to, and I think it's so important to build those habits in the home and build the right kind of healthy habits and not talk, poorly about. I don't demonize food groups. We do sometimes do the occasional like treat meals, and we don't say anything bad about it. Don't talk bad about my body ever around
Yep.
her,
Yep. That's
because
a huge one. That is
Yeah.
yeah,
a huge one. Because it's immediately, if a child starts seeing their parent do something that is negative about themselves, they will start those types of behaviors. And that's that trigger. That's that thing that I've seen that can really push some of these kids with a poor idea. I mean, their self image, that's where it starts.
So I know with boys, I can't speak for girls. We haven't had that, but we have boys, and I can tell you, being a boy and having boys, that we rarely do what you tell us to do.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
have to learn the hard way, right? But we will do things if we're watching and we see that you enjoy something and it looks good to us, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it on our own. So I would imagine girls are gonna be the same way with that. It's so important, like what you said. It's how you react to things. It's how you word things. It's how you react emotionally. They see the happiness in what you're doing, and they know it's for a purpose, but that to them, it paints a picture of what things are really going to do. And so they can go on social media and stuff, but they still have that embedded in their head. Nobody's going to be mom, period, no matter what, over time. They may go through a phase the same way our boys did, but our boys came around as they start to get closer to 20. They start doing the things that we've been doing coming up, and they just do it on their own, you know, and we act like we don't know, like we're not noticing,
Pat yourself on the
but it
back.
does happen, you know, over time. But at the same time, you let him be a kid, like you're saying, if the team's going out for pizza after, you know, you don't want to demonize that. You want to say, as you're going out, it's a celebration. You go out and have fun and you come back and then we have what we have at the house, So there's a balance to it. But if you're putting the food in your house and it's not good for them, it's going to be an issue over time, So you want to really take that time to kind of spend to find those things that that they will eat. And there are things out there. It's a lot easier today than it was even 10 years ago. People have gotten smart to this and come out with things. It may not be, some of the food may not be, you know, top of the notch, the healthiest, but there could be little things in there like artificial sweeteners, whatever. But you have to choose your battles sometimes, compared to what they could be eaten. But there are so many things out there, so many things. And just having the protein to regulate the blood sugars, that one simple thing, I'll call it a hack. Just making sure they get the protein because that controls those insulin spikes. If they have protein with the carbs, it keeps their insulin from going up. They're not going to have those crashes that they have when they go to school. They're tired, they're cranky, they come home, they're cranky. They go and they want to get off the field and don't want to play. If they just have something to regulate those insulin spikes, make sure they have a protein with those carbs. It will change your life for the better and make your life so much easier as a parent.
And it's kinda like the breakfast ideas, because I remember when my kids would go to school in the mornings, they would go, they were too tired, they just got to school and they get some whatever school was, offering at the time, but maybe having something that they can have in the morning, like an option. So I don't know if you guys have suggestions of things, like quick grab and go kinds of things that you've had with your kids or shared with your kids. And, the kids that are active, that are in sports, because I know Megan's boys are very active, and they're playing and doing the things, like, it's okay to have carbs then. Like, carbs are gonna be the fuel for when you're playing, but like Calvin said, you wanna have something with it because otherwise you're gonna get that quick shot of energy, and then you're gonna have a crash. So, you want them to have, a little bit of a balance. So, any suggestions from you guys of things that people could
That
try?
they could have pre-made protein shakes, you could have that with some fruit, you could do it or you can buy them, I'd say it's a little bit better to make it yourself, but you can buy those and just have them on hand and cold, you know? So when they have that, they're having it with their snack. That's an easy one. For the mornings, I would say, when they're going off to school, fats and proteins, because that will stabilize their blood sugars and keep them fuller longer. So if they have carbs in the morning, even if it's with proteins, they have a tendency to get hungry quicker because the blood sugar will spike. So if they have fats and proteins in the morning, that will regulate. They'll have less spikes during the day, and they'll just perform better the whole day. They're less likely to store the glucose as fat.
I think another good breakfast one you could kind of make ahead of time. You can doesn't take long to make them, but the little like egg bites, and you can put some veggies in them, and then they're made. You put them in the fridge, and then you pop them in the microwave for 30 seconds and run out the door. That's an easy one. Yeah, the shakes are great.
That's a great one.
My kids love shakes and like protein oatmeal, and then you put some peanut butter
Mhm.
on it and things like that. But, when it comes to just food in general, because I know we talked about how in making this work for everyone in your household, because I know so many people don't wanna cook, like, 3 separate meals, right? And this applies to we've talked about this for adults too. It really so many things apply right to both, ages or spectrums there. But we'll prep protein, and we have then some carbs that are pre-made. And that way, if I'm having this meal and it's the things that are prepped, right? And they want to have still, say, the ground turkey, but they want to make a taco out of it. They can easily grab a little tortilla and have the same bases, put a little bit of rice on there, put the ground turkey, they get some cheese, guacamole, whatever, and they make a taco. And I still didn't have to make any other food. It's the same
Mm.
food. It's just made a little, they put it together differently. And that's a time saver. And I don't have to argue too, because then it gets frustrating when you're like, well, I don't want that, or I don't want to eat that. You don't have to eat what I'm eating, but everything, the basis of them, it's there. You just prepare it in a little different way.
Yeah.
Sure.
And what I like to do too is it saves time, like is pick certain things, like especially for breakfast, that I can make a me version and maybe a them version. So like the egg bites are one of my favorites because I can do egg whites and then I can do regular eggs for them with cheese. I can put all the veggies to everybody. I've done like baked oatmeal,
Oh,
and
that's
then
a
I'll
good.
put like protein powder on my half and maybe some Greek yogurt on their half, just to kind of, or I usually put Greek yogurt on mine too, but like to add a little extra protein to mine because I need a lot more, and then that way they have their portion, I have mine. And then I didn't have to make two separate meals. It was just like a little bit of an alter.
Change.
Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
like those protein bars that are like no bake, you just kind of put them in a pan and pop them in the fridge. I'll make one with just like straight almond butter, and then I do a little PB fit in mine to kind of cut the fats down. But just little things like that where they enjoy those things too. And then I'm not spending a bunch of extra. It's not two separate meals, but they are a little bit different. So I can reach my goals. And then I know that I'm making a healthy alternative for them too.
Those homemade protein bars, I'm gonna tell you, that's money in the bank with kids. I know, Brooke, you used to make that one that it sounds like it's a lot like what Whitney's talking about with almond
Yeah.
butter. You had oatmeal in it, and you had
Protein
gosh, what
powder.
did yeah, and you could even throw dates in there, and dates are very healthy for them and put a lot of sweetness in it.
Yeah.
So there's so much you can do with it. You can put cranberries in it.
Dates have allulose, so it doesn't give you that big spike. It actually helps to keep it level. So dates are a great way to sweeten. They actually have date syrup, so you can add that too as a sweetener into different recipes. But that is a
Those are
great.
always a big hit, and they're so easy. You can just put them in separate Ziploc bags and bring them. And those yeah, great idea, Whitney, on the bars. So,
They're the best. I love
it's
them.
been a minute since we've done that. I forgot about those. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I like those ideas. And it's definitely, again, and what Whitney or Megan was saying earlier is find something that they really like and then go find a hack for it to like make it a little bit better and a little bit more healthy. And like before, when we were talking about the food in the house, I could just say when you have nothing in the house, when I was younger, I had nothing in the house. It was only healthy foods. And I used to go to my friend's house and I would
Yeah,
eat everything there because she had the Wonder Bread, she had the sugar cereals, she had all the things, and I would just go over there because that was where all the good food was. So there is some type of like balance that needs to happen, that you have some things, but the majority of their choices are going to be better. So if they do it, again, it's almost like crowding in more of the healthy options. Fruit is a great one. I always tell people like kids, if when I get them on fruit, like that is probably one of the healthiest carbs. I can get them, they're into the
mm.
berries and the pineapple and the apples with peanut butter and the celery with peanut butter and, finding the little snacky snacks that are something that they can grab that isn't something that's garbage if they do need something sweet or they want like a little dessert or something after dinner.
I feel like you got to get creative with the fruit. So I see kids don't buy into those as much.
I don't
You
know.
got to
My
look at.
kids
Uh,
love fruit,
Fruit.
Do they?
especially if
All right,
if I start up
maybe I'm wrong.
eating it. But no, I mean they will crush a giant pack of berries, a
Yeah.
big bag of apples. It'll be gone in a week.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I stand
We're going
corrected.
through
Okay.
bananas like 12 every
Bananas.
2 days.
Yeah. Yep.
For real.
And also, just going to like local markets, finding what's in season so you can get it. And it's not going to, again, a thing of berries, you're going to be, $50 a week if you go at that rate. So that's a good one. Frozen berries. and putting it with like a little bit of like, I found this cocoa whip. So it's like Cool Whip, but it's made with coconut oil, and getting the frozen berries and putting it there. We used to make, Calvin, you probably remember this. We used to make, it almost was like an ice cream sundae, but you put Greek yogurt, and we had the banana, we had cut up watermelon, we had cut up that, and all the fruit was in there, the pineapple. So they would just eat it with the Greek yogurt. So you get a little bit of protein there. You had the fruit from the carbs, and you can either put honey on it or, like you were saying, the chocolate chips and things like that. But
Yeah.
that was another big hit for our
Well, the
kids.
honey, the raw honey, if you find a local raw honey, that's got so many benefits to it, you know? You wanna control how much they have of it, but there's a lot with that, and that's a great sweetener. You can put that in. It gets a little messy, but you can do that. But that Ninja Creamy, though, we didn't have that back in the day, and that is
Yes.
just that's next level right there. If you guys that are listening to this don't have the Ninja Creamy and you have kids, you need to go get one, but just be careful because they can catch on fire, we
They do
found
catch
out.
on fire. Be careful. You're going to go ahead and put that out there.
Just
Small
a heads
warning.
up on that.
Warning label. Warning label. Don't let your
Disclaimer.
kids else.
But you can put protein powder in there, and you use what was the milk that you were using that makes it get that
You could
ice
do it
cream
with either
consistency?
like regular milk or Fairlife milk was working. The only thing I didn't find that it worked as well was with like almond milk because it got very like icy watery.
I see. Yeah.
So cashew milk works better. The thicker types of non-dairy milks work also.
But you can get a pint of that with the protein powder, and you got and a whole pint that they could literally sit, and that is a meal. That's 40 grams of protein. It was like 15 grams of carbs, I think it was, and maybe 5 grams of fats.
Yep.
Boom.
And
You
then
can
they can
have
make
both
it
have ice cream.
fun because they can put the fun
Yeah.
stuff on it,
Yep.
Yep.
There's room to put that in. Yeah, you can put some things in there
Exactly.
that they enjoy, and there they got their protein, they got the things, and you can put some almonds in there or some whatever to make it taste better. There's so much you can do with that. So it's a great option for kids.
Yeah, and I definitely think that it's just really when you're thinking about this and it seems like work, right? It seems like something else you have to do. But when you come down to it, like if you're making dinners anyway, like, or figure out your rhythm, figure out like looking at your schedule. So I tell people this is whether you have kids or not, like look at your schedule for the week. Okay, this day I'm going to be super busy. This day I'm going to be, super busy. These days I should have a little bit more time, and almost looking like on a Sunday. If Sunday's your off day, cool. Let me prep up, like Megan was saying, like a bunch of chicken, a bunch of this. Think up some recipes that I can mixy matchy. Like the big ones were like you can make chicken into like quesadillas. You can put chicken into a salad. You could put chicken with rice. You could put chicken on a pizza. So thinking of the different things that you could do and coming up with a plan on Sunday, prepping a little bit, and then you know what you're going to do. Also putting together the grocery list and making sure you have everything, and you do that when you have time. And then the nights that you're super busy, having some backups. That was another thing for me that was really helpful, is that there will be some days that it doesn't go as planned. I had planned on doing this recipe, but the day ran a little bit crazy. So having some backup. So we always had frozen turkey burgers or frozen salmon burgers or something that I could just grab and heat up really quick in the air fryer or do something very fast. So that way I still have some type of healthy choice as a backup. Those cans of chicken that they have, like people want tuna, but you don't want to eat tuna all the time. Cans of chicken. Literally, you can make a really yummy chicken salad with, you can throw grapes in it. You can throw, some celery in it. You can use either mayo or if that's avocado mash to get some healthy fats in there. Make a chicken salad, or use that shredded chicken and put it in some other type of recipe or a salad or something like that, or into quesadillas, little wraps, things like that. But getting creative with things that are quick, because sometimes it's nice to cook, but if you don't have a lot of time, preparing ahead of time, maybe making dinner, and then you have a lot extra that they can take for lunches
Yeah.
and things like that.
That's been a big one that I did, especially early on when, when there were two of them and I was like, what the heck? I was like, okay, I'm making dinner every night. So I'm just going to make a bunch. And then I have lunches for the week because especially like when I first had Ezekiel, I was caught up in that chaos and I didn't have the organization because I didn't know what to expect. And, I would miss meals all the time. And it wasn't because I wasn't trying to eat or I wasn't hungry. It was like the day would get ahead of me, because I wasn't prepared. And so, I think some of the making enough dinner and having the leftovers it was a huge game changer for how I was able to stay on track this time around. And I've also found just like a few like kitchen items that make life easier, like the crock pot,
Yep.
the Instapot,
Yep. That's a great one.
the
Fryer.
air fryer,
Air fryer.
Yeah, that's a
the
game changer.
grill. You don't have dishes if you use the grill,
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
That's right.
you know? And so, like, those things just cut everything down. And you don't necessarily have to make every meal like Michelin star
No,
Exactly.
worthy,
I tell you,
you know,
one of the
especially if you're
what's
pressed for time. Oh, no, you're good. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say one of the best things I found in prep was when Brooke got that air fryer, and I found out we could actually make French fries, but healthy, and they taste to me tasted just as good as anywhere else in that. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! And they weren't greasy, and it was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm cheating right now. But that's great for kids. You know, they're not getting all the fat, you know, that comes with it. That's, you know, it's a lot you can do with that where it helps them. Even vegetables, I think it makes every vegetable just taste so much better, you know. And there,
It's
the air
true.
fryer is just great.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Is. But it's definitely those things that are fun. And I will tell you, for kids, the chopper. You guys have one of those choppers?
Yeah.
So you can look it up online. It's just a little food chopper, and it's like a little case, and you can make salads in there. That was my go-to, is that you have it. It has the bottom, and then it has this hand that goes down and chops it up into little teeny tiny cubes. So you got boys, they like smashing things and putting something there and just letting them just continue to smash it. I'm sure your little ones, same thing, getting some aggression out and doing it. But it's just a way we would do like the sweet potatoes and put them in there and throw them in the air fryer. So you have these crispy little, sweet potato fries were also good. But it is. It's the french fries were awesome in there, and the grill was a game changer because you can make a whole bunch. You don't have to, like you said, no dishes, just get her done. And like burgers, you can make turkey burgers and then use that same meat and make it into little meatballs or meat sauce. And then you can make it into tacos. So, finding things that they like now and just subbing maybe some leaner meats or some turkey meat, things like that, to be able to help.
Yeah. And I will say too, you know, especially if at first it all feels overwhelming and like it's a lot of work, don't tackle it all at once. You know, I've had some of my clients, you know, and they're all moms, where it's just like pick 2 meats, just prep 2 meats for the week. And then when that starts to feel comfortable, prep a carb or two. You know, frozen veggies. Frozen veggies are a
Yeah.
great way to go because they're picked at their like freshest and they're
Yeah.
frozen. So you're still getting the nutrients and they're so easy. And, you know, especially if you're in a hurry, it's one of those like nice grab and go kind of things. Like we have had weeks where I did not cut a fresh vegetable because it was just too crazy. But I always keep enough of the frozen vegetables and the ones that everybody likes in the freezer so that we can just grab it and go and get things going.
Absolutely.
That was one of the things I think a lot of people don't know this, but that, like you said, that holds the nutrients because they put it right when they pick it, they put it in, they freeze them, right? So it holds it where a lot of the ones that have been sitting on the shelves for, you know, a week, 2 weeks, transport and stuff, they're losing their nutrients as the days progress. So the frozen veggie thing is just really, it's just really convenient and it's easy. You know, it's to grab a bag and just put them in the air fryer. It takes probably 5 minutes to heat them up. You know, I think with kids, the big things you want to consider is just convenience and does it taste good? You know, that's the two big hitters with them. So if you can find ways to make things convenient for them and easy, but still tastes good, then you got it. You got it nailed.
Don't be afraid to season things, you know?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Most seasoning is
Changes
like
the game.
nothing. You're not adding, you're just adding flavor. So season with your
Well, a lot
heart.
of the seasoning's good for you too.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. The spices are good, you know, so it is. Yeah,
Doesn't have to be
absolutely.
plain and boring.
And now I remember, Whitney, when you were saying like expectations, because when you become a mom, you have no idea. Like you think in your head that you know what is going to happen. But when you have your first child, and Megan, you can chime in with this, like it's like a rush of, oh my gosh, my life has literally been taken over. I have no time for myself. There is nothing, like I need to make sure all of this is handled. And it seems like a lot. and you don't have the bandwidth. So it's definitely what you were saying about understanding and having that expectation when you are about to have a child or when you do, giving yourself grace. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and understanding you do what you can do and think of the things that are going to be most effective with the least amount of effort. Finding those things that can really do what you're trying to do, and your goal is to keep your kids healthy, right? And offering as much as you can, but not getting to the point of, "Oh my gosh, I can't have a healthy meal tonight. It's crazy. I got to stop at Chick-fil-A." Okay. Like, stop tonight. Like, it's just a night, because if we start acting like, "Oh my gosh, I can't have something," then we get super hyper focused on that while we're out of, like, we can't stop. Like, there are going to be times you guys are running around and you got to stop somewhere. You know, Chick-fil-A is Chick-fil-A. Like, you can't not do that. So,
And there are things that you can eat at most places.
mhm.
You just have to be intentional
Right.
and take a look at the menu before you order, and kind of stop yourself from, maybe your go-to is like a fried chicken sandwich, but like,
Right.
think it
You get the
twice. They
grilled
have wraps.
option.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do the grilled. They have a grilled wrap, and that's just one of many places where they do have those options. And I will say too, like, the nice thing about having a newborn is that's a really perfect time to start building these habits, because you don't have a picky eater. Like, you're
Yep.
the only
Yep.
picky eater there might be. And that's where getting them kind of early makes a big difference. Like, my 4-year-old has been telling me all week that he loves when I cook chicken and broccoli. I'm like, really? Asked him what he
Done.
wanted for dinner. Chicken and broccoli. You're such a good cook, Mom. And I'm like, I don't do anything
Just
crazy. Yeah.
ready for
Let's
body.
go.
Papa.
Um,
But
he's
he's
in.
watching you. So they see what we're doing. And a lot of times they want to be like mom and dad, or, whoever is their guardian,
Mm,
So we
yeah.
have to mirror those behaviors. Because they're watching, they're gonna pick up on them, and then hopefully they're gonna continue those, actions throughout their life.
And don't
Yeah.
just get
Exactly.
discouraged if they don't do it initially, because I will tell you, like, Logan and Chase, nope. Logan started going when he was in high school. All of a sudden, "Oh, girls in college? Noted. I know how
Hmm.
to do that." And then he started doing it, and now he's a coach. Like,
It's
this is what he's into, right?
one day
So,
turnaround, boom.
that was
It's
it.
All it
just
takes.
like that.
Girls, done. And
But
Chase was the same way.
Very
My oldest
motivating.
one was the same way. It didn't happen until he was like 24 years old. So never lose
Logan
faith.
started it, and then Chase followed suit with it, and now Dawson's cleaning up and doing it. So so it is. They
In their
do.
own
It
time. I
was.
mean, it's just like adults, if we're not ready to make the changes and do the things, you're not gonna do it. But when you're ready, it'll happen.
For
So
Yep.
Yeah,
sure. For
And
sure.
I
everything's
agree.
in seasons too, right? Like, that is just parenthood, is like everything's in seasons. They might
Yeah.
I might be getting requests for chicken and broccoli this week, and then like a month from now it's like pizza. So,
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's important to have those times, because if you're too harsh about it and they never get something, they're gonna go to their friend's house. But if you
yeah.
have those times, you go and do it. If you're at a fair or something, you get an elephant ear or whatever, something like that. They still see you're a team player. You'll do it every once in a while, and they have something to enjoy.
And
Or
then they'll
maybe
get,
they know when they go out with mom and dad that they're gonna get a treat, so they look forward to it. So it's there's times to leverage it,
yeah,
So
absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I think this was great. I think this gives mommies and daddies some insight and some ideas. So thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, but I will request that anyone listening to this episode, we would truly appreciate if you would give us a review. And if you do have any type of requests or that you would like to know more information or episodes, please put it in the comments and we will chat soon. Have a good one, guys.
all right.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com, and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.